and welcome to my presentation. Today I'll be talking about the armored mist frog, Litoria Iorica. So the armored mist frog is a critically endangered frog that is only found in the wet tropics region of far north Queensland. As you can see from this diagram, it's not a very big area, and it's historically only known from 5 populations within this area. It's known as a torrent frog, which means it's associated with the fast-flowing water of rapids. The 5 populations I mentioned disappeared in the 1980s and 90s, and this species hadn't been seen since 1991 until a chance discovery in 2008. This frog is called armored mist frog because it has spines on its nuptial pads. This is the thumb to us. So this frog is 3 to 4 centimeters long, which makes it a medium-sized frog. It's well camouflaged. The modeling on its back will allow it to camouflage very easily with the granite boulders in which it often is found. This species also has no vocal sac, which makes it unique among frogs, as it has no call. And this makes it known as a cryptic species, as it's hard to find. So translocation occurred when individuals were taken from the first population that was found and now moved 4 kilometers downstream to create a second population. Both these populations are now stable, but they exist in very low numbers. There were plans to relocate a third population in 2023, but there's no sign that this actually went ahead. So we can learn a lot from this frog. Currently, our adhesive creations come from the webbing of geckos. The webbing of torrent frogs is far greater than that of geckos, and we could greatly enhance our adhesive ability by using torrent frogs instead of geckos. These frogs also have a peptide that they secrete from their skin, which potentially has antibacterial properties. We could use this for medical advances, potentially. These frogs are also known as environmental indicators. So when there are more frogs around, you know that the habitat is very healthy. When the frogs are in decline, the habitat is in decline. So there are lots of threats to these frogs. The major threat is chytridiomycosis, which is a fungal disease that affects frogs that live within streams. So chytridiomycosis will shut down organs of the frogs and will also cause the skin to shed. Few species have managed to bounce back from this, and this is a global problem. Litoria Iorica could possibly be one of them. More research is needed to know exactly what is happening with the 2 new populations, but it is thought they are beating chytridiomycosis by basking on sunny rocks, and it's thought that the heat that they get from these rocks kills bacteria within them, and they get healthy again. Climate change is also an issue. The habitat of the wet tropics has been relatively stable for millennia, but it's now changing and it's getting much hotter and the rainfall is getting more unpredictable, which makes the habitat less ideal for Litoria Iorica or the armored mist frog. And these species would have to move uplands if they were to survive, and it's unlikely that they had any suitable habitat left by 2080. Habitat loss was a problem in the 70s and 80s, and it might have contributed to low numbers that were around in the 90s. This was due to logging, but this was stopped in 1988 when the wet tropics became a World Heritage Area. Since then, logging has occurred in very low numbers, mostly for housing developments. Invasive species can also cause problems for the armored mist frog, particularly aquatic species. If they get into the creeks where this frog lives, they could potentially wipe out the species in a very short time. This is why more translocations are very important. So the male uses the spines to hold the females in amplexus. The eggs are then glued to rocks. These eggs then hatch into the water as tadpoles with these specialized suction discs as their mouths, and they hold onto the rocks until they're fully developed. They just stay holding on to rocks in one spot the entire time that the tadpoles. So future action is that we need more research into chytridiomycosis. We need to increase the translocation projects, and in general, we need to do more research on frogs. We also need to mitigate climate change. So what we can do to help is reduce our use of fossil fuels, protect known frog habitat, increase the public's awareness of the threats that frogs face, and create frog-friendly habitats. And frog-friendly habitats are something that anyone can do. This is an example of one. They can be small ponds or pots of water. So I have a pot at the back that I put some pipes in with a few plants, and I will have frogs there every day. At least one green tree frog, but I'll also have red tree frogs and ornate burrowing frogs. And it's a great way to see what frogs are in your yard. So these are very low maintenance. They're like set and forget type hotels. They're very cheap and very easy to set up. And then you get all the benefits of having frogs in your yard. So to sum up, these frogs are critically endangered. They live in a very narrow range with very low distributions. There's a few benefits we could get from researching these frogs. We need to mitigate climate change, and everyone should have a frog hotel. Thank you.